Hello and welcome back to the PropTech Hot Seat on iProperty Radio with myself, Carol Talon. Today we're in Lifesize Plans with John and Emma, and we're going to take a look at how you can bring your plans to life if you're dreaming of that self-build. So guys, take me through the space where we're in and what you can do for self-builders.
Absolutely. So we've got a combination of scale 1-to-1 floor plan projection alongside scale 1-to-1 elevation projection. So where we're located right now is in an open plan kitchen, living and dining room. And what we have here is just located the patio doors out onto the main patio area. So the kitchen is located up here, dining area here, and the living area down here. So
the last time I was here, this was just an empty space with lines drawn on the wall. And today I came in and it looks packed almost permanently. And then I realized smartly,
it's all on wheels.
Everything is on coasters. So explain to me how this works, or how self-builders really understand how to use this.
Well, I guess we always set it up as per their plans, but it gives them a chance to come into the space and maybe play around with their internal layouts a bit. For example, the kitchen we're standing in at the moment, the client was here and she's like, I always wanted an L-shaped couch, but she had these double doors in the middle of her living space, which couldn't make it happen because she didn't want to cross here. So quick and easy change was to move her wall across to here.
No planning permission required.
No planning required, it's all internal. Her doors came to here, and then she could get her L-shaped couch in. And that's what she had wanted to achieve, that she had that space.
And it's a different space when you do that.
But the thing is, as well as doing that, it also created an alcove here that her dining area moved right in.
Oh, that is clever. So then you've got this huge open space here.
Yeah, and then she created another living space here, and she really highlighted that she had a gorgeous mountain view in the background. So she had now her reading area here, looking out, dining space, and she still created the space she wanted in her living area.
You know, genuinely, the last time I was here, I made the point that I can't read plans. Just 25 years in the industry, if I couldn't learn in the last 25 years, I'm not going to adjust to that skill now. So I need something brought to life, and I didn't know this existed until last year. Now I can't imagine visualizing a space any other way. Why do people come to you though? Is it that they can't read plans? Is it that they don't understand the dimensions of the space they're planning?
for an awful lot of people, they come for certainty and to be able to fully understand the design before, say, they draw down on their mortgage and, you know, start to make the biggest investment of their life. For many others, it's about getting on the same page with people that tend to come in here before they start building on site. It's about making the right decisions, and there might be conflicting options on the table, and here we're able to put both options down on the floor and enable couples to make very informed decisions before putting a spade in the ground.
Do people make real changes when they come in, when they visualize the space? Do they realize, a little bit like we just did there, Emma, when you move the walls, it actually creates not only an entirely different room in there, but now suddenly you've got a different space there?
Well, it did, because that had all pulled across there, it actually gave them the option to extend out their kitchen. And again, remember I said they had the lovely mountain view there?
I'm going to put all my furniture on coasters or casters from now on.
Well, I asked them what the view was here, and they were like, well, that's my brother's barn. I was like, well, why is your island facing that way? So then we twisted the whole thing around. So now we're having our morning coffee looking out at the mountains. Again, no change to planning.
That really does change the room, actually, when you change the aspect.
It's such a small change, but it was one that had never occurred to the client. But equally, because they did this one did require going back to planning, but they made this window bigger, and they lined it up that they had a bigger space that they were looking out on. But it was just an amendment.
It's such a great way to be able to visualize the space and change the place. But when you're taking self-builders in, what type of people are you getting? Are they people who are doing their first self-build, or have they maybe lived in a home so they know what they don't want?
We get a mix. We get an awful lot of people on their first, but we also get people who are maybe downsizing and they remembered the mistakes they made on their first and they're like, I'm not doing that again. So I would say it's kind of nearly 50-50 between that at the moment.
Yeah, like for some as well, and in the Dublin market primarily it tends to be people doing kitchen extension renovations and upgrading what they have. So it all depends.
It can be very difficult to visualize a space that you're already living in and how it could be different. We even saw there, those little changes can make it very different very fast.
Well, actually, changing the aspect of the island completely transforms this space and its relationship with the dining space as well. So that's a really interesting one. What kind of advice do you have for people who are embarking on a self-build and are maybe just in the process of drawing up or agreeing plans with their architect?
The biggest piece of advice I'd have is to spend the money on the front end, to really lock down your budget, engage with a project quantity surveyor and get what's known as a pre-plan and cost estimate to be able to manage your design expectations with your budget capability.
Yeah, because we've had a good few people through the space as well that unfortunately when they've gone out and get their pricing, they know they have to shrink it, and that's why they're coming to us to see where they can cut from. But it'll be very difficult to see this massive house and know you have to take it down. So if you do that work on the front end, hopefully you're building and planning it in alignment with what you can afford.
What kind of surprises have you seen from self-builders walking through? Have there been any that have come in and said, you know what, actually this is not the space I imagined at all? What have kind of been the biggest surprises?
The three biggest areas that we tend to spend the most time on is kitchens, master bedroom suites and bathrooms, very surprisingly.
Spend loads of time in bathrooms.
You told me that before and I found that really hard to believe and hard to understand. Why is that?
I don't know, it's a small space that people are trying to make look nice, and everyone nearly says, I don't want to see the toilet. But equally, you have to make the room work to hide that toilet that we all know is there. So
I think it's a funny one as well because everyone is so focused on the bigger ticket items, like the house and the kitchen, the bedroom, that it's something that's overlooked. And for an awful lot of people, the spatial awareness is a big barrier. Like before we come into every walkthrough, we always kind of have a red flag list of items. Okay, so what are you most concerned about in your home before we walk through it? And that'll give us, you know, the attention to be able to focus on those areas. And they will tell you what they're happy with, they'll tell you about what they're concerned about, and 9 times out of 10 when we get into the space, they're always surprised at the layout and size of the areas that they think that they're happy with.
With somebody in the other day and they're like, I know the kitchen's too big, like we're going to shrink it while we're here. And when they walked in, and we had set it up, so we knew what it looked like, they were like, this is so much, this is not what we want. And they had a very big house, but their kitchen was actually really small. And it just didn't add up for them at all.
So it was just they couldn't, again, they weren't spatially aware of what.
They weren't spatially aware, but for them to be able to come into the space and experience, like, it's not about the furniture here, everything is just white. It's only about the spatial awareness. So for them to be able to stand in the space and to be able to feel the kitchen space and go, do you know what, this isn't big enough for our requirements, they were able to make the strategic decision to add an extra 7 meters onto their design by pushing the gable wall by a meter before getting on site. The alternative to that would have been encountering it on site with the walls going up, and at that time it's too late, things are moving on, they're going to have to start coming up with justifications as to why it's right.
Well, I think it's a fantastic idea. So if anybody is embarking on a self-build, this is definitely worth a walk through, because even if your designs are perfect, it's good to validate those. And if there are any little tweaks to be made, now is the time to do it. So thank you so much for showing us around.
Thank you.